Everybody, happy Tuesday. A few days after the Super Bowl, and here in the DMV, we got a snowy night tonight. A lot of snow predicted our way. Now, when I say a lot of snow in the DMV, that doesn't really mean a whole heck of a lot because there's other areas in the country where they laugh at us for what we get hysterical about when it comes to snow. But I think we're talking 4 to 6 inches tonight. So while we're doing this, I hope everybody's warm and cozy, and hopefully you can stay in here for our live stream because I've got a great guest tonight. I've got Jackie Baker, and Jackie is a real estate agent in Bergen County, New Jersey, which is northern New Jersey. And very coincidentally, I feel like kind of a kinship with Jackie because my wife Erin, when we first met each other and we were dating for the first 3.5 years, she lived in Bergen County. So I was up there every other weekend, got to know the area, got to know a lot of the people. And so I always have very fond memories of Bergen County. And so I brought Jackie in here. And so not only is Jackie a great real estate agent, but she's also an unbelievable YouTuber. She also has her own YouTube channel, so you may want to check it out. And she does a live stream. We'll ask her about what night it is. I'm not sure what night it is, but we'll ask her a little bit about that. And so we're going to kind of cover some of the things that are going on in the DC area market, as well as the northern New Jersey market, because as I was talking to Jackie a little bit off stage, we're a little bit like distant cousins. You know, there's a lot of quite a bit of back and forth between New Jersey and Maryland and the DMV. So we're talking a little bit about the markets, talk about some relocating between the areas and everything, and just things that we see. So with all that being said, I wanted to introduce you to Jackie Baker.
Hey, hello. What's going on, Kevin? Thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you for being on. I tell you, it's a little bit it's a winter wonderland here in the DMV tonight. How's the weather up there? Are you guys getting snow?
We're getting a little bit. So that storm that you're getting, it's actually hitting South Jersey. They're supposed to get like 8 inches, and I know then further down into Delaware in your area, you guys are getting 4 to 6. So I have a condo in Bethany Beach, Delaware. So I've been watching the weather there. They're supposed to get like 4 to 6 inches, something like that. So yeah, so love the Mid-Atlantic getting all the snow this winter. We haven't had it that bad so far.
Well,
So.
I'll tell you, I mean, kind of in my introduction, I would say that, I've grown up in this area my whole life. And we definitely, over the last 20 years in this area, we've gotten really soft when it comes to winter and when it comes to snow. Now, I'm not going to pretend for a second. I'm not going to say that typical dad thing that I walk through 2 feet of snow, the 3 miles through 2 feet of snow.
Uphill,
yeah, uphill. I'm not going to say that at all, but I will definitely say that today it's like flurries are predicted, and it's like going to lead the news. For days leading up to the flurries. School's going to be canceled early. And it definitely was not that way when I was growing up. So I do get a little bit of a kick out of it. And most people from outside of this area, who, either from, like Jersey or certainly further north of that, or, out in the Midwest, they're like, are you freaking kidding me? Like,
I know.
what the hell? So
it's nothing, it's so funny. People look at us like, really, get over it. Yeah, it's just a few inches. Yeah.
I mean, I have to be honest with you. I mean, I'm telling everybody that the area is getting softer, but there's no doubt I'm getting softer too, because it's like, you know what, I'm not going out in this stuff. I mean,
don't
need to mess with that. So
no, me neither. Yeah, no, thank you.
But anyways, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about you and kind of like, your real estate career, like where you kind of specialize in, what you do, and also, your YouTube channel and everything, and kind of what you're doing through YouTube.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. So as you said, I am up here in Bergen County. I also do serve other counties in northern New Jersey, like Passaic, Morris County. I will go into parts of Essex County. It's a little bit south of here, but yeah, been in the business 10 years now. I'm licensed in New Jersey. A lot of people here in northern New Jersey are dual licensed in New York and New Jersey. We're right on the New York border. But I'm solely New Jersey. And I started my YouTube channel back in 2019 for the purpose of, educating people, home buyers, home sellers, I did get quite a bit of business off of that when during the pandemic, when the people from New York City were looking to move. Yeah, guess how they found me? They were watching me on YouTube while we were in the shutdown. So, so I picked up quite a bit of business that way, and now the channel has just grown, and it's more of a general channel. It's not just I don't talk about the Jersey market or really anything like that. It's really just content geared towards home buyers and just
Mm.
educating them on, what to look for when they're buying a house, what things to be aware of, what kind of houses you should consider buying, things like that. Because I really love the first time home buyers. And, I'm very passionate about it. So I've kind of taken my channel in that direction. And, it's working out. It's working out well.
So, you just mentioned about, having a channel and talking about like what homes to buy, but I think you had a huge video, if I remember correctly, about
Mm.
the homes not to buy.
Yes.
Wasn't
Yep.
that like a
It
real
never
viral video that you had?
Yes, that one was called Never Buy These Types of Houses, and, I was just like I went into that I went to like, what? This would be good content, because whenever I'm showing people homes, and they get all excited and they're looking, they see certain features and they're like, oh, this is great. But if I'm the one, I have the eye, right? As you do too, Kevin, when we're looking at these homes, we're the ones spotting what are the red flags, what's wrong.
Yeah,
And I would kind of bring them back down to reality. I'm like, okay, this is
yeah.
great, but we need to be aware of this, this, and this. So that video that idea came up because especially we have the underground oil tank situation up here in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, you know what? These are good things to bring up. And oh my God, it blew up. I never anticipated that to go viral, but it did. And it's been awesome.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
And I mean, that one, also it seemed like, from what I can tell, really springboarded you and kind of,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah, yeah, it definitely did. And, the videos I've made after that, yeah, I mean, I haven't had one that's hit over 1,000,000 views since then, but I mean, there are some that have gotten like few 100,000 views. And again, it's those topics related towards, but like home buyer education. That's how I look at it.
yeah,
And then I get people reaching out to me from around the country wanting referrals for real estate agents in their markets. And what I love is sometimes I actually have conversations with these buyers and they appreciate it. They
yeah,
appreciate the message, the content because they're learning. It's just like as you have your channel, right? We're here to provide value
right.
and educating or the average consumer when it comes to buying a house. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. No doubt about it. And so, of the video, the viral video that you had on these homes not to buy, of the tips that you gave people, what would you say was the top two, like things that you would tell people? Look, don't buy this home. Like, what are two of the things?
So I get a lot of comments about one of the homes. I said, don't buy an older home, like a home that's over 100 years old. And I get positive and negative comments about that. Some people like, oh, you're crazy. Nobody builds homes like the older homes. We have a lot of old homes just in my town alone, right? Like over 100 years old. And I've been in a lot of these, and there's a lot of issues that go along with them. And so a lot of people would say, they would comment, yeah, what, I wouldn't want to touch an 100-year-old house because of, X, Y, and Z, unless the house has been already renovated. That's a whole different story. But if it's not, and you have a lot of the original wiring, plumbing, the foundation, if it hasn't been waterproof, because we get that a lot too. I tried selling a house a few years ago. It's a designated historic home in our town, and the basement was the old limestone foundation. So they were known to like water could seep through them. And the homeowner claimed to have waterproofed it. And the day of this is no joke, the day of the home inspection, it was pouring rain. And we go down in the basement, and what is coming down the walls but rain? We're at water. We're like, "Oh my god, are you kidding me?" So those are things like when I was making the video, I'm like, these things popped in my head. I'm like, people need to be aware of this.
Yeah,
And the other thing was the underground oil storage tanks.
yeah,
Because a lot of people around the country aren't familiar with them. They're very big here in the Northeast, and people are asking, what, why do you have an oil tank underground? It's like, well, people buried them because they're an eyesore, or they didn't want them in the basement of the house, and they used to bury them underground. Now, you have to take them out. You either, if they're decommissioned, what would people do to decommission? You have to go through a process, empty the oil out, you fill it with sand. The town comes, they give the okay, they give you the permit, you're all good. But nowadays, if you're coming you get a house and there's a decommission tank, the lawyers are telling you to get rid of it. They want the
Right.
sellers to get rid of it because there's that risk of oil leaking out at any time, and it's going to contaminate the soil.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so that was a big one. That was another big one. People were like, "What are you talking about, oil tanks?"
Yeah.
But yeah,
No, I mean, and we deal with it a little bit down here, not nearly to the level that you guys do there.
yeah,
And I've done videos about underground oil tanks before, and usually when I'm doing them, I usually like to get a snippet of some, what we would call B-roll, from news clippings, and they're always from New Jersey.
yep,
So I
yep.
get some good
Not surprised.
footage from New Jersey, but
Good.
here we just don't see it too terribly much.
Yeah.
Maybe on some of the outskirt areas that you're, further up county where it becomes more rural and the homes were
Yes.
built in the 50s, 60s, maybe even the 70s. But we don't find it a lot in a lot of the suburbia, which, most of these homes were built, 30,
Right.
20 to 30 years ago or so. But
Yep.
we do have it every now and then. And so it's always something that I've kind of got my eyes on and everything.
Yep.
But I will say this. I mean, you and I were talking about a little bit off stage here. My wife, we started dating, and she was living in Bergen County, New Jersey, and
Yep.
so getting, when she was getting her home ready for the market and all the stuff that she had to do there, she was in Glen Rock. And what town are you at?
I'm in Mahwah. I live in Mahwah. My office is in Allendale. I love Glen Rock. I helped a couple from Manhattan buy in Glen Rock just a couple of years ago, but Glen Rock's awesome. It's
I
a
thought
great
Glen
town.
Rock was like freaking Mayberry in New Jersey, honestly.
But
I mean, it was freaking Mayberry in New Jersey.
oh my God. You think that's Mayberry?
I'm coming up as just this, from suburbs of Maryland and everything, and I'm starting to date somebody in New Jersey and everything. And of course, you have these certain stereotypes and everything. And I go and, the first time I went up there, I was like, oh my God, like kids are out riding their bikes together and hanging out, like doing all the stuff that I used to do in the 70s and 80s, but nobody, at least around this area, nobody's doing that anymore. Everybody's like on lockdown, and there's play dates and, all this, everything's organized and scheduled. And it's like, holy crap, all these kids are riding their bikes together, showing up. Everybody knows everybody there.
Yes.
Which a lot of that is good. Sometimes maybe it's not so good. But
well, you don't want your neighbors in your business, but we're fortunate enough. A lot of towns in Bergen County are still like that. That old school. The kids are riding bikes to go to each other's houses. I mean, it's awesome. And that's one of the reasons why we chose to move to Bergen County and our town in particular. We craved that. We were living in New York, and our kids were a little bit older when we moved, but I gotta tell you, what a difference. We moved to our neighborhood, we befriended the people across the street, my boys became friends with their sons. I mean, it was just, oh my God, it was amazing.
Yeah. So what's interesting is the first time that I went up to Glen Rock, the first time I went up there to go visit her son knew that I was coming over. And at the time, goes back like 8 years ago. And at the time, I think he was a freshman in high school. So he was like 15 or so. And he had plans that he was supposed to, head out for most of the evening, let's just say. And, as I was getting closer, my wife now, Erin, was saying, Ryan wants to stay, and he's got like 6 of his best buddies who want to meet you. And I'm like,
no
I'm
pressure.
all in, that's all good. And so we get there, I get there, I pull in the driveway and I knock on the door, and I swear to God, it was like 7 boys are all 15 years old, one after the other. Hey, I'm Jack, hey, I'm Cole, I'm, shaking my hand and everything. And I was like, they were so protective of her. And it was like,
so nice.
I was like, holy crap, like that doesn't go on in this area here. I mean, it was just like they were watching after her and they wanted me to know that, dude, you are not the man of the house here right now.
Right, right.
And so, and
Good,
I
good
will
for him.
never, ever forget that. I was so impressed. And, you know, and over 3.5 years of dating long distance and going back and forth and being up there every other weekend, you know, I
Yeah,
got to know these kids. I went on vacation with some of them and everything. So it's
nice.
just, I have very, very fond memories of that area. And I was like, it just seemed like such a freaking throwback to my childhood that I thought was completely gone.
I know, right? It's crazy. Well, good for him, her son, like, making good choices and friends, that they come and check out mom's new beau,
Well,
that's
we're
just
not sure that he made a great choice on that, but I mean, you know,
oh, no, they
that's still a
clearly made a
question a
good
little bit.
choice. She made a good choice with you, but it's like
That's
I
still a
love
question.
I love hearing that about these kids, that they're respectful and they're, that's what I found too. Like where we are, I've always loved any kid that came into our house who were friends of my kids. Just awesome people,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
good natured kids.
yeah,
So
absolutely. So,
yeah.
well, why don't we talk a little bit about the market that you're seeing up there? I mean, I always say here that the DC real estate market typically starts really a few weeks, really 1 week after the holidays. Like I always say, you know, a week after, you know, New Year's starts the spring market.
Right.
And so, you know, if you use that as a barometer, then right now we're, you know, here we are mid-February, we're in the spring market here in this area. So
Yep.
what do you see there? Do you see some parallels there?
So yeah, so typically it's always Super Bowl Sunday always was the unofficial start of the spring market. That's been that way since I've been in the business. But I will say, yeah, I think for here, similar to what you're experiencing, I think in January, the past few years, the things are they pick up, they get crazy again. So here's an example. I was working with a buyer. It was early January. I wanna say the first weekend right after New Year's, we went out, we looked at a couple of homes. The one home we ended up putting an offer on, 30 offers,
Jeez.
30 offers. Now this is out in, Morris County in Rockaway, and the price point is because of the price point. So those price points between 4 and 500 or even up to 600, they go like that, like, and
Right.
over asking without batting an eye. So
Right.
when we put our offer in, I called the agent and said, like, how is it looking? She goes, well, so far we have 7 offers in hand. I'm expecting more. I'm like, okay, so maybe she'll end up with 12. And then when I wait to get the dreaded phone call that we didn't get the house, she's like, we had 30 offers. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like it's just but that's not the only house that we lost out on where it had 30 offers. Another one we tried for had 20 offers.
This was in
And
January?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. And then now my 2 listings, I have these 2 investment properties I put on the market January 16th, multiple offers. Now, one of them we had 6 offers on, all over asking price. I can't believe what this thing is selling for, Kevin. I'm like in shock, but people are doing it. People want we have no inventory here. I had a friend we were at the Super Bowl party the other night. She lives in my town and she's saying to me, "How come this house, this mid-century modern house, there's not no great shakes. Why did that just sell for 1.1 million?" I'm like, "Because there's nothing for sale. There's too much demand here. People from New York City still want to move here. They don't want, they're all getting out of the city. Still, not as bad as it was in the pandemic, but we're still getting them. And we're
Right.
getting a lot of the millennials that have been renting in Brooklyn too. Now
Right.
they're making their way out. So yeah, the demand in North Jersey is just it's not calming down. And I think the market up here, it's going to continue to the prices are going to continue to rise because we also have Netflix is building this $900 million studio in Monmouth County, which is down by the Jersey Shore. So now there's all this speculation that once that project is done in 2028, home prices are just going to go through the roof again because that's supposed to create like 1,500 jobs. And
Wow.
now they're calling it the Hollywood of the East. So we shall see how that's
Yeah.
going to play out, but it's
So
crazy.
right now, I mean, you're really not seeing much slowdown here. We have interest rates that are,
Yep.
you know, close to 7 right now,
Yep.
kind of in that upper 6s to 7 range. So it's not like we got any help with interest rates dropping. I mean, that was kind
No.
of the talk, late last year, October. So we were going to expect like 5 or 6 interest rate cuts, which doesn't appear like we're going to be getting that anytime soon. But even with all that, you're still seeing, there's more demand than there is supply,
Yeah.
much more.
Yeah, nobody cares. No, those interest rates, nobody cares a bit about what the rates are. They just want the house.
Yeah.
And they're even waiving they're even waiving inspections and appraisals again.
Hmm.
Like that stopped for a period of time and now we're back at it again because there's just so much demand.
Yeah.
And I will never do that. I do not ever recommend my clients just 100% waive the inspection. I said you limit them, but don't waive them completely. A lot of people are still doing that. I'm like, you're crazy.
When you
Don't do
say
that.
when you say limit them, what do you mean by that?
By limiting to them just that
Time period?
you're gonna look for structural and environmental. In some cases, if I feel like the furnace is on the older side, the AC's essential air is on the older side, we'll put mechanical as well.
Right.
But yeah, basically we're just limiting. So we just want to make sure it's structurally sound. There's no environmental issues like no mold, no oil tank, no rodents in the attic. Cause here in North Jersey, we get a lot of critters around here. So, that happens. But yeah, so but people are just, they're waiving inspections. Like on one of the investment properties that we listed, multiple offers is an investor buying it. He waived the inspections. He didn't care.
Yeah.
Like, all right,
Wow.
not about it. But
I mean, obviously, you certainly didn't stop them. I mean, they did that on their own
yeah,
free
what are they
will.
going to do? They're writing that in the contract, and that's on them. But
Right.
listen, these investors know what they're doing too. They know what they're taking on. But even just your regular average home buyer, they're
Yeah.
waiving inspections. And as a matter of fact, I had a recent chat with a person looking for an agent here in Jersey, and she had said to me, she's a first time buyer and she was upset because the agent kept trying to encourage her to waive inspections. And she's like, I wasn't comfortable with that, but she was writing it in the contract anyway without even, confirming with me I wanted to do that. And I'm like,
Wow.
so that's why she reached out to me. She's like, "Can you find me an agent?" I'm like, "I sure can," because
I'm right here.
yeah, exactly. It's like, don't like why are agents doing that? Like,
Yeah.
do better,
So let me ask you a question. So here in this area, and once again, having been exposed a little bit to on one sale with with my wife's home back in 2021, I definitely think and what working down here, working in this business is not easy. I mean, I think, the TV shows make it look like it's glamorous and
Oh,
everything. It's hot
please.
tubs and Ferraris. And in 30 years, I have not found that yet. I've been looking for hot tubs and Ferraris in this, but that has not been my experience in this business at all. But, I would definitely say, well, this business is tough, no matter what. I mean,
Yeah.
I think you guys have it more difficult there than we have here. Just, and I'm going to give you a few examples and maybe you can elaborate a little bit on
Sure.
that. So, with Erin's house, my wife's house, once again, she was in Glen Rock. One of the things that she had to do was you can save me on this one a little bit, but she needed to basically let her township know in advance that she was going to be selling it, and they needed to do some type of an inspection on the property.
Mm-hmm.
And they came back. This is even before she put it on the market. They came back with some things that she had to do before it even went on the market. Like for example, one of the things that I know about was the sidewalk outside. Not on her yard technically, but just the sidewalk outside. I mean, there was some pavement that was cracked or broken or whatever. I don't know. They made her come have that repay or dug up and repaved or whatever. We don't have anything like that here. So I mean, can you elaborate a little bit on some of those things? I mean, do you have that throughout Bergen County and
Yeah. So
Northern Jersey?
I'll tell you, not every town in Bergen County had like that. They'll have the town get involved, where you have to, like in Glen Rock, you have to go to the town to get their CO. What I will tell you, every town in New Jersey, what we have to do is get the smoke certificate, the CCO. Okay, so the fire inspector comes out prior to closing to make sure smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors are in working order, the fire extinguishers are up to date, and they're in the proper locations. So that goes without saying. Every town in Jersey, we have to do that before we close. But those CO inspections, like you're talking about, not every town does it. But what you're talking about with the sidewalk, I sold a house in Teaneck several years ago, and that very issue came up with the sidewalk where the roots had grown and
Yep.
it raised the sidewalk
Exactly what it was.
because the way it is, you own that property. You own like up to you own the sidewalk pretty
Up
much.
to the
It's
curb
up
and
to the
everything?
curb. It's your
Wow.
responsibility. It's your responsibility. It's crazy. But so some towns where you have those sidewalks, like Glen Rock, there's sidewalks all over the place. I'm not surprised they do that. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's what they'll do because it'll come up. Even the home inspectors will bring it up, and then it'll. I don't know I don't think they report it to the town, so to speak, but the towns are going to make you fix it anyway because it's a liability too. It's a liability for the homeowners. Like if somebody trips on that,
Yeah.
what's going to happen? They're going to get sued.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have anything like that here.
Hmm.
Thank goodness. But
It's a process here. It's a
yeah,
process in
yeah.
New Jersey.
So,
Yeah.
and the one that just jumps out at me is the attorney review. And, for those people that are kind of watching who are local to here, who have never lived in like New York City or New Jersey, and when I say New Jersey, I think we're talking northern New Jersey.
Yep.
Um, Talk to us a little bit about the attorney review period, because that would drive me freaking bananas. So why don't you talk to me a little bit about how just the process? So, okay, buyer house goes on market, buyer sees house, buyer's interested in house. Talk through just on a high level what happens for their buyers interested in writing an offer on the house.
Okay, so we basically buyer wants to make an offer. I'll write the offer. We get the contract signed. If the offer is accepted, we then get the contract signed by the sellers, and then we send them off to the seller's attorney, the buyer's attorney. Then that commences the attorney review period. Now, what we've learned in real estate school, attorney review is typically 3 days. It's never 3 days. It's always I have very rarely had an attorney review let go as long as 3 days. They usually go longer because the lawyers are busy and they're doing other closings and what have you. So probably I would say more like 5 days.
Hmm.
So what
Business
happens?
or calendar days?
Calendar days.
Okay.
So then what happens? The attorneys get the contract, right, that I prepared, everybody signed. They disapprove that contract. And then what they do is just take the terms, they take the purchase price, the mortgage information, the terms, and then they put it in their own addendum. So then the buyer's attorney is the first one to respond. So they'll prepare their addendum, send it to the seller's attorney, and then there's just a back and forth period, right? So they just want to tighten up the contract. So
Now, are buyer and seller aware of what's going on during this
yes.
time, or are they out in the dark on this?
No, they're aware. They're in communication with their attorneys and, with myself. Like I'm in communication with the attorneys. Like we're all involved. But the key thing here, during the attorney review period, we could still show the home. Okay. So if I have a listing and we're in attorney review, we can continue to show that home if the seller wants to. And offers can still be submitted during that 3-day period or that attorney review period. Once we're out of that, we go under contract, the home can no longer be shown.
Okay.
So that's why we're always in a rush to get through attorney review because, especially if I'm representing the buyer, I'm like, oh my God, they're probably still showing the house. We don't want another offer to come blow us out of the water. Let's get this done,
Right.
But yeah, so that's the process. And then after that, we get under contract and then we get into the inspection period. So typically inspection period is about 10 days once we're under contract, not from the time we begin attorney review.
So quick question for you, and this is getting, I'm probably getting too much into realtor weeds here.
Yeah.
But so offers accepted, it goes into attorney review, and you said that you're still able to show it during that period. You're still
Yep.
able to potentially review other offers at that point in time.
Correct.
But do you need to do you change any status in the MLS at this point, or does it
So
remain as active in MLS?
So here's the thing, it'll say active, it'll say ARIP, attorney review and process in our MLS. But here's the frustrating part. That does not transfer to Zillow Realtor.com. So it's still showing
Oh,
as active on Zillow. So we'll still get phone calls from people. Hey, I see I see your house for sale 123 Main Street. Can I see it? Well, we are an attorney review. We have to let them know if we're in attorney review, you're allowed to see it, but any offers would be considered as backup. So that's the one frustrating thing when people call because they see it on Zillow. It's like,
yeah.
yeah, we accepted an offer. Sometimes people are like, that's fine. I want to see it. I want to put in an offer. And sometimes they're just like, no, forget it. If they've already accepted an offer, they won't bother. So
Now during that attorney review period, I imagine you can't just kick out that. You can show it to other people. You can receive other offers.
Mhm.
Um, are you able to kick out those offers? I mean, because you've got something that you like better. Maybe let's
Oh
just say
yeah.
a higher offer. Can you just say, "Hey, sorry, you're in attorney review right now, but I'm just serving you notice that we are terminating the contract because we've chosen to go with buyer B over here." Can you do
Yeah.
that?
So that actually happened to me with one of my buyers a few years ago where we were in attorney review and somebody came in and blew us out of the water with a much higher offer. So they did come back to us and say, we got this offer. Can you come up? Can you match this offer? And my clients couldn't do it. So yeah, so they'll do that.
Oh
They
wow.
get a better offer. That's why we it's like we're under the gun. It's like, let's time stick. We got to get through attorney review so
Yeah.
nobody else can take the house from us. So it's very stressful.
And so up that way, are there attorneys that more or less specialize in attorney review? I mean, because I mean, I would imagine just your general, attorney who's doing a whole host of things, is
Yeah.
not just sitting there waiting for a contract to come in to review it and everything. As you said earlier, they're busy as well. But I mean, do you
Yep.
find that there's certain attorneys up there that are well known who specialize in,
Yes.
this?
There are a number of attorneys that are just the real estate is their jam. That's it. That's
Yeah.
all they do. And then there are some that do majority real estate and then they do, divorces and, whatever criminal stuff, but for the most part, the attorneys that we deal with, they specialize in real estate, in the real estate law. So, like this one attorney I use a lot. She's awesome. I know I'll never have a problem because she's on it. She gets things done in a timely fashion. She doesn't waste time, and it's good. But then there are some attorneys that they take forever. Like you said, if it's say the buyer would be like, well, like, oh, I'm going to hire, my cousin's sister's boyfriend, whatever. He's an attorney, and they don't do real estate law full time. That's where we run into problems
Yeah.
because they're working, like you said, they're working on other cases and then you're waiting and the clock's ticking. It's like, come on.
And oftentimes those are the type that try to come across as the hero and like I'm going to probably
Uh-huh.
wear the cape and completely go in there and turn this around upside down or
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, we get that a lot too. Like I said to you before, it's listen, I'm not trying to not bashing attorneys, but there are some that come with egos and they get their backs up when they're challenged and I've lost some deals because of fighting attorneys.
yeah.
And yeah, like I said, it could either make it or break a deal. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
see, we don't have that here, and what's amazing too is the average transaction here. Now, once again, when it comes time from contract to the time we actually go to closing, typically it's less than 30 days down here. And my wife, when she moved down to this area, was shocked at how quickly
I
she
can't get over that.
she would hear, oh, you went under contract with the Joneses today, and then 3 weeks later, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to closing with the Joneses. She's like, wait, you have more than one Jones? I'm like, no, I'm just working with one right now. I mean, I'll take as many as I can get, but I'm just working with the one. She's like, didn't you just do that 2.5, 3 weeks ago? I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it can go to closing really quick because you don't have that attorney review. That's why I say, Jackie, that if I had to go through what you guys go through, I probably would work at Home Depot or find something else, because I just, but
Hey,
you know,
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
what you're used to and everything. So I'm
Yep.
sure if I started up there and that's what I did, and that would just be
Yeah,
what the way it
it's
is.
the norm. Like where you are, like closing in 3 weeks, I'm like, that blows my mind. Like, I told you when we bought our condo in Bethany Beach, Delaware, we closed that, like, within a month.
Yep.
And again, no attorneys. Our friend was our real estate agent. She helped us buy it, and I'm like, "Really? We're done?" Like,
Yeah.
how what the heck? I went down for the inspection. The inspection was fine, and then before you knew it, it's like, boom, like, "Okay, we're closing on this date." I'm like, "Huh? What? What?" It's like average
How we roll.
45
That's how we
days.
roll.
Yeah, it's how you roll. But you know what? And it's when she was showing me, like, all the work she's doing, because, again, no attorneys, we just had the title attorney, but did all the negotiating and everything. And I'm like, I don't know if I could handle that, because
Right.
sometimes things get so heated, it's best to let the attorneys kind of fight it out. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Because and believe me, it can get pretty contentious. In this past 5 years in this market, oh, I could tell you stories
Oh, I
about,
bet.
oh, how crazy people get, and I'm talking
Yeah.
about real estate agents. So, yeah, crazy. So
So, and I'm going to kind of shift gears a little bit, and I
sure.
certainly do not want to get political on this, but I mean, what have you seen any changes in your market since the election, since the inauguration? Are you seeing any changes up there? Because we're definitely starting to feel it around here. But
Mhm.
are you seeing any changes, either positive, negative, or it's just, you know what, we
I
just
I
want to freaking buy houses here?
I think it's back to the status quo. Like, leading up to the election, things were slow, things were quiet. I would say September, October, it was like crickets. We're like, "Where the heck is everybody?" But then after November, that things it was status quo, and like I said, January, it was like gangbusters. People are out again. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, not much of a change.
Yeah, so here, it's funny because I was just pulling up statistics for January, and when we entered into this year, I'm speaking for Montgomery County, Maryland, which once again we're just outside of Washington D.C. But
Yes.
at the very beginning of the year, we were seeing inventory. Actually, there's about a month's supply of inventory on the market. I want to say we had about 600 properties on the market as of January 1st in this county. And we have over 1 million people in this county. So 600 homes on the market is not a lot for a county that
No.
has over 1 million people.
Right.
So inventory was very low. And the sales in December was about 600 sales in December. So, I mean, right there, I mean, you've got, you know, basically 1 month's worth of inventory on the market, which is depleted. Although it's interesting because our statistics usually come out around the 10th of each month.
Yep.
And so I literally just pulled this up about an hour before we jumped on. And now I'm actually seeing that there's 848 properties on our market, as of the first day of February.
Oh,
And last month there were 490 sales. So we're actually starting to approach, almost now 2 months worth of inventory on the market. So it's funny, the early days of January, leading up to the inauguration. And I think the changing in administrations, no matter what you think or no matter when it is, it's going to affect us more than it probably affects you guys because we're so close to it.
absolutely.
But early parts of January, the properties that were going on the market were just getting hammered, a lot like what you're saying. It was definitely a slowdown, in the fall months like September, October, November, leading up to the election. December was a very strong month in our
Mhm.
county. I think, regardless of what people thought about the results of the election, it was just like, it's freaking over. You know what? I'm over all this stuff, and
Yes.
let's get back to the fact that we need to buy a house. And so we saw a really strong market. And in the early days of January, it was really, we were seeing the same thing. But recently, we're definitely noticing a slowdown here. And what I'm starting to see is more people starting to put their homes on the market earlier this year. I think
Mhm.
a lot of them, because of a lot of the stuff that's going on with the federal government. And here, I don't know exactly what percentage of people that we have here are actually, civil federal employees, but I did read a statistics that we have 15% of all civilian federal employees
Right.
here in the DC area. So it's definitely one that everybody's talking about in our meetings that we're having. We're all hearing about it. There's definitely a lot of, hesitation, I think, out there. We're starting to kind of see that. So while I
Yeah.
will say it's a market where it's definitely in favor of the seller. If it were like a pendulum, was like this, it's starting to become a little bit more like this. And we're starting to, see not as many showings, houses that I thought would probably have 5, 6, 7 offers on it, maybe going for, throughout a weekend and not having any on it. So we're definitely starting to see a little bit of a slowdown right now. And so it's kind of it's definitely starting to change. The question is that just a temporary thing, or is that something that, and I think that remains to be seen, because there's been so much, craziness, I think, in the early days of I don't know about craziness, but just there's just a lot of crap going on right now. And
I know.
you're just getting bombarded left and right with, all sorts of stuff. So
Right. Yeah. Listen, hopefully that will just, this is just a little blip on the, blip on the radar right now. And hopefully that'll all, even out. But listen, I'm the first to say I welcome a balanced market. I had Paul Likens on my live stream a couple weeks ago, and he's down in South Florida, Palm Beach. And I think he said the average days on market for a single family home is about 5 months. And
wow.
but for condos, it's bad. It's
Yeah.
like it's taken 8 months.
Yep.
It's not good. But when he said 5 months, I'm like, oh, remember that? Like, I don't remember that. Like, I haven't seen that in 5 years. Like,
Yeah.
I would welcome it, because I just think, it's getting so hard for the young kids now to afford a home.
Yeah.
And it worries the hell out of me. And I see that here where I am. I mean, people want to live in Bergen County. These kids who go off to college, a lot of them come back. They want to raise their families here because they know the schools are good. You witnessed it yourself, Kevin. It's a great place to raise families, and it's just sad that a lot of these young adults, we may not have that opportunity. It just it makes me sad. It really does.
Yeah, no, it does. And, it's interesting because, like Aaron's son, Ryan. So once again, the one that I met when he was 15 years old, now, actually, I think he was younger than that, but now he's actually going to University of Maryland. He's in his senior year.
Oh, nice.
And, he was raised I think his first 5 years in Maryland, but he moved to Jersey at that age, and he's a Jersey boy. He likes Maryland, but he complains about their bagels down here, our pizza,
Well, he's not wrong.
No, he's not. I mean, I think he could be, a little bit more diplomatic on it. I mean, he doesn't have to rip, all the bagel places on Yelp down here. I mean, but but he's just a Jersey kid. I mean, and he is like this time down in Maryland, but he's already got his job lined up in New Jersey, and he loves Glen Rock, loves going back there. And
good. Oh, good for him. I hope that works out for him. I hope he's able to settle down there. It's what he knows, he loves. But listen, I got to be honest with you, Kevin. The bagels and pizza, they just once you get out of Jersey, it's not the same. Not the same. Every time we go down to Delaware, we're like, yeah, no, we're just one state south, and we're in Delaware. Yeah, but I don't know. You know what it is? People keep saying it's the water up here. That's what makes the bagels so good. I'm like, well, what do they put in the water? I don't know.
I know. You know what? Don't ask, don't tell.
Exactly.
It's just a thing,
It's good. It's all that matters. It's good.
But what's funny actually is, just to go back, my first YouTube video I did was in 2019 also. And my first video really had nothing to do with real estate at all. But it was the 9 steps of how to pick a Maryland blue crab. Because that's our thing in Maryland.
Oh, I know. I love blue crab.
We're crab people here. And
I know.
And so what I did was, and once again, Aaron was living in Glen Rock at the time. I bought a bushel of crabs in Maryland, took them across state lines, and invited invited a whole bunch of the neighbors up, and I'm like, tonight we're just going to kick it Maryland style. I've got crabs, I've got mallets, I've got
Oh, I
all
love
the
it.
accoutrements. We got a case of beer or whatever,
Love
and
it.
so we had a bunch of people come over. But my first video was the 9 steps or the 8 steps or whatever the heck it was on how to pick a Maryland blue crab. And then what I did after that was I had so Aaron's daughter at the time she's still dating a guy who coincidentally is from Maryland. And so he was there too. So I'm like, and if you stay to the end, we've got a bonus. We're going to have a crab off between 2 Marylanders. You just got to stay tuned. And it was funny because, my Aaron's daughter and her boyfriend went to Notre Dame at the time. And so we ended up getting 2 big Glad trash bags, and we cut a hole in the top of the head and arms and everything. So we were covered in a Glad trash bag, and we just 1, 2, 3, go. And then I had the films all sped up and everything. So the crab shit's got flying all over the place and everything. And apparently went kind of viral on the Notre Dame campus. The kids loved it. But it was just so funny that I shot the video in Bergen County, New Jersey. My first attempt at
look at that.
It wasn't the biggest video I ever had, but I still think to date it's the best video I ever did.
That's awesome. See, we made you famous, Kevin.
I know. But anyways, I guess kind of in moving forward with with what you're seeing up there. I mean, talk to me. I mean, most of the people you said during the pandemic that in Bergen County you had so many people that were coming from the city.
Yep.
Where are people coming from now? Are you still seeing people coming from New York City?
The city? Yeah. The past couple of years, I would say definitely still people from Manhattan. And it's unfortunate is because of the crime in Manhattan. The crime over the past few years has gotten really bad. So I've met a lot of families who are trying to get out of that. And Brooklyn, like I said, but a lot of the young kids who are renting in Brooklyn, they're done paying those high rents and now they want to own. And also a lot of the millennials reside down in Jersey City, which is very popular with the youngins. Listen to me. The Gen Zs that are coming out of college now are now settling down in Jersey City. So I have spoken to quite a few that live in Jersey City, but yeah, New York City, we're still coming here. Yeah, but again, not as crazy, but yeah. And the thing is, we found during the pandemic when it all started happening, when the Jews had this massive influx, they had the money. A lot of these people live in New York City. They're living in these small apartments, paying like God only knows what in rent. And to them, $1 million for a house, that's a bargain.
Yeah.
Because they get this big house with the backyards, and they were all about a pool. Everybody wanted pools back then too. So if you had a house with a pool, you were going to get a lot of money for that house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting what we're going to see in this area because, of course, if you listen to the news at all, one of the big things beyond just the cuts into the federal government and employees is also they're calling everybody back to work again, and so it's going to be interesting to see that because, in the early days, well, I should say the early years, because it was probably 2020 through 2022, we saw a ton of people moving out of DC, a lot of them millennials, who, we're now reaching maybe mid 30s or so and starting to think about having a family. And, of course, everybody wants to be social distancing. You want to be further out. The thought is you may never ever have to go back to work again, or at least, drive into work, let's just say. And, what to your point, people were interested in school districts and things like that. And so we saw a big push, to leaving DC, in the early few years of the pandemic. And it's still a little early to say, but, now that, a lot of those people came and they moved out to some of the suburbs that are maybe 15, 20, 30, heck, even 50 miles outside of DC. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens with a lot of them being called back. I think there's going to be people who are going to say, the heck with this, you know what, I can go elsewhere. I can move, I can get another job, do something else. But I think there's going to be others that are going to realize that maybe they need this job and they want this job, and they're going to, start moving back in. So, once again, we're already starting to see inventory going up a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a little hard to say where that inventory is coming from, but I do think that we're going to start seeing more inventory hitting the market just simply because of the calls in back to work, and some people just saying, screw it. You know what? I don't want to deal with this crap. And, getting jerked around like a yo-yo. And you know what? I'm out. Peace out. I'm going to move to Florida. I'm going to move to, Bethany Beach. I mean, that's a big hot spot. The Delaware shore and the Maryland shore is a big hot spot for, people in the DMV and everything. So it's kind of interesting to see how, how much of that's going to happen, with people just saying, putting their homes on the market either because they're just, checking out or realizing that they need to be moved closer back in. So it's just, I think it's going to be a little bit of a reshuffling of the deck. So it's really interesting to see that.
Yeah, that for sure. For sure. I mean, I already know I have good friends that commute into New York City just like 3 days a week. And she's remote the other 2 days. And she tells me the day they call us back in 5 days a week, she goes, I'm quitting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it'd be very, very interesting to see how that all shakes out. So
yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, do you see very many people come, up there from the DC area? I mean, relocate there?
No.
Yeah.
I've yet to meet anybody from but listen, as a lot of people here are relocating to Delaware. That's like so I know me personally, my husband and I will probably end up retiring in the shores of Delaware, probably Bethany Beach, because you can't beat the property taxes.
Oh the property taxes are freaking ridiculous. I mean, like our property taxes here are nothing like what you have there, but what you pay in Delaware, it's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. I'm like, oh my God, we can pay. So our condo, I think we barely pay $1,000 a year. I think we pay like 900 and change for a 4-bedroom condo. Like who, where do you get that? I'm paying $15,000 a year, and that's cheap for Jersey, my taxes, people in Bergen County, as you know, from your wife, I mean, they're upwards over $20,000 a year.
Yeah.
In a lot of towns. So yeah, going to that's why everyone's flocking to Delaware and Pennsylvania too. I see a lot of PA people in Delaware. It's funny. We'll go down on a weekend. So we were like house hunting. We just wanted an investment and a vacation home for us. And a lot of our friends already moved down there. I'm not kidding you. Like every weekend we went down there, you would either see New Jersey, New York, or Pennsylvania plates.
Yeah.
Driving around in all these new communities that are being built. I'm like, oh my God, everybody's coming here. But
no, I love that area. And it's funny because we've been looking around there, probably not going to do anything too terribly soon, but we've been looking around there in kind of that Rehoboth, Bethany to Fenwick area or so.
Oh, I love Fenwick too. Yeah. And I like being close to Ocean City too. Like you're right over the border there. I like that. Yeah.
Depends what part of Ocean City you're talking about, though.
True. That is true. But it's just kind of cool. It's like, oh, Maryland's right here. We go out, we'll rent pontoon boats right on Fenwick Island. And then it's like, oh, look, we're in Maryland now. Like we go out and we're like, oh, look at that. We're in Maryland. So it's cool.
Yeah. So I used to have a house in Bear Trap right there in Ocean View, which is
Stop it.
Is that where you are?
My condo's in Ocean View in Bethany Bay.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
I know Bear Trap very well. Oh, that's so fun. Oh my God. Look at that, Kevin.
Yeah. So, and we were kind of looking at, I'm getting way off course, but anyways, it's all about us, But we were kind of out there about a month or so ago looking at the Bayside community, which is also built by Freeman, which built Bear Trap and everything.
Yes.
And like I say, it's amazing. I mean, I don't want to say nothing's cheap out there, but at the same time too, the taxes are just ridiculous.
You can't beat the taxes. That's that's the number one reason why people are flocking there.
Yeah. So what's interesting, because I asked you about, whether you see people come up from Maryland, but, it's funny because in our area down here in Maryland, especially in Montgomery County, we have a ton of people from Northern Jersey down here. And usually it's interesting, like people that are kind of my age, like, I've had a lot of clients that are from, South Jersey, but a lot of them more from North Jersey.
Wow.
Usually what it is when I ask them, hey, how did you get down here? it's usually they went to University of Maryland, because there's a ton,
Oh.
Ryan's class, who the one who's Aaron's son, he had, I think, like, I don't know, like 10 or 12 kids that went to University of Maryland from Glen Rock High. So there's a ton of Jersey kids and New York kids that come down to the University of Maryland. I mean, I want to say it's probably in the neighborhood of 25 to 30%. Now, I have two reasons why I believe this is true. One is because they've got really good kids. So there's, you've got, Maryland has become pretty hard to get into. And so, first of all, they've got a good, population of kids who score well and are good kids but also Maryland definitely likes taking the out-of-state kids too, because of, the extra tuition, it's like double what, you would pay in state. So there's a ton of kids from New York, New Jersey, and usually a lot of them that are kind of my age, or maybe 40s or 50s. When I ask them how they came here, it's usually like, yeah, went to the University of Maryland. I love the state, and, got a job, and, and so there's definitely a lot of Jersey people here. But what's interesting, what I see right now, and probably one of the next live streams I do is probably going to be with somebody who's an agent who's down in the North Carolina area, because we see a lot of people right now that are moving to like Charlotte. I've had 3 or 4 clients recently move down there, and I think part of the reason they moved down there is because, the weather's a little bit better. But yet there's still change of seasons, so you still have a change of seasons, yet, the summers are probably going to be just the same as they are here. Probably not quite as long. And the winters are going to be, a little bit milder as well. So we see a lot of people kind of moving down that way.
Yeah.
To your point, I asked you the question, do you see Maryland people moving up there? I don't know of anybody that really moves from here to New Jersey. I think they try to escape. I think, like, if you go to a town like Charlotte, or even places like Raleigh, Durham, weather's a little bit nicer. The cost of living is a little less. You get a little bit more for the money, although those areas too are really jumping up in values as well. So
sure. Oh yeah, for sure. But what? Not too many people move to Jersey unless, like I said, it's a young family. Or if somebody has to move here for job purposes. Like, I helped a family from California move here because of they had a job. But yeah, we have the highest outbound migration, New Jersey. We've been number 1 for years of the most people leaving.
We're number 1.
Yeah, we're number 1. Yeah.
Yeah, but you've got people replacing them. I mean, you're talking.
I know. Did people still want to live here? I'm like, okay.
So it's not like you're losing anything on the tax database or tax base. I mean, it's like you got people, and it's interesting because, once again, having some experience up there, what I see is a lot of people, as they start becoming empty nesters in New Jersey, they're like, you know what, I don't really need to pay these taxes for the schools anymore or whatever. And so I think a lot of times, and of course, typically as you become an empty nester, you have options and choices anyway about, you're probably getting close to retirement age, and there's a whole host of reasons. I'm sick of the freaking winters. Let's move somewhere else. I'm sick of the rat race. So we see a little bit of the same thing here as well. But so I guess, as we're kind of wrapping up, I'm curious. I want to kind of go back to the YouTube thing. Right now with your YouTube channel, what are you seeing as far as organic? It's funny. I'm gonna pause for a second. I'm gonna step back. The people that you probably this better than I do, because your channel's a lot bigger than mine is, but this well. A lot of agents will ask you, and a lot of people will ask you, do you get business from it or whatever? What are the leads like? The funny thing is, like, the people that reached out to me who found me on YouTube, I wouldn't call them leads. These are people who are as warm as somebody that you've known a lot of times. You've done 3 or 4 transactions with them. It's like they're contacting you and they're like, hey, will you work with me? Please. I mean, it's not like this cat and mouse game. I mean, do you find kind of the same thing with the people?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like when I first started it back in 2019, I found that the people who reached out, they were watching me for months.
Yeah.
So think about it. When you watch a TV show over a period of time, like you feel like you're part of that person's life, right? So when you meet them in person, it's weird. It's like you feel like you've known them forever. They feel like they've known you because they've been watching me for so long. As a matter of fact, last week I met a buyer in person. She reached out to me and I got her connected with my partner in my office, my partner Stella. And Stella's like, I'm going to set up a meeting with her. We're going to talk about her whole, home search and everything. I'm like, oh, I got to come in. I want to say hi, and it was hysterical. I walked into the conference room and the woman's name is Nandi. Nandi looks at me and she starts going like this. She's like, "Oh my god." And she holds up her phone. She goes, "You are with me all the time." She goes, "I every morning I wake up, you're on my feed and I'm watching everything." She's like, "Thank you for everything that you do." And I'm like, that's like it's so amazing, And it's
Yeah.
just and then we were just having a conversation like she's an old friend. Like I've known her
Yeah.
forever. It's so crazy what the connection you make with people through video. And
Yeah.
that was one thing I never expected to get out of it. Like, yeah, I wanted people to learn from me. But when you're making those connections, when people call me or if I call them back, they message me and like I need a realtor and I call them up, they're like, "What? I can't believe I'm talking to you. I feel like I know you." And it's amazing. It's
Yeah.
amazing. And that makes me happy because I think, Kevin, as real estate agents, it's very important for us to really teach everybody how to advocate for themselves too. Because listen, there's a lot of agents out there that aren't so good, and they're not so ethical, and I'm hearing still a lot of these stories. And I just want to put that information out there to let people like teach people what to look for,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're nicer than me because I mean, and maybe you're being nicer because you're on my live stream, but I say in not most of my videos, but many of my videos, look, I'm going to be upfront with you. 80% of the real estate agents throughout the country are horrible.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
This is normally a very dysfunctional group. You get a lot of people who, get in on, this is easy. I watch it, Selling Sunset. So I want to get into the business, it's get rich quick type thing. And it's a lot of times it's people who are just dysfunctional, who can't make it in normal 9-to-5 corporate world. So they love the idea of I'm going to be my own boss, but set my own rules, which end up, in most cases being horrible. But, one of my favorite experiences with the YouTube client that I now have is I was in a meeting about a year and a half ago, and I was finishing up a meeting, and I got a call from a number. We all get these number you don't recognize, and so I just put it over to voicemail, and then it came in again. I'm like, ooh, this is definitely this is definitely a sophisticated phone solicitor, because they know to call back a second time and you'll probably want to pick up. I'm like, I'm not calling for that one. So I had to call me a third time. And normally I have a very friendly voice when I pick up. I usually like, hello, this is Kevin. And I picked up with the a-hole voice, like, yeah, this is Kevin. And I hear this.
Oh, no.
I hear in the background, I could definitely tell these people are driving. And it's like, and I could tell I'm on a speakerphone. I'm like, is this Kevin Grolig? And I'm like, yeah, who's calling? And they're like, it's Chaz and Tracy. And we've been watching your YouTube channel and we're driving there from Florida with our 2 kids. And we just wanted to know if you'd work with us. And these guys were the best freaking clients. I mean, I ended up helping them buy a house. I want to say it was Christmas Eve, 2023. There was like 7 offers, completely went to bat for them, loved me to death. I love them. I mean, it was just like awesome. And then 2 years later, they called me and, work kind of took them over to Virginia. I am licensed in Virginia. I don't necessarily promote that so much because it's a small part of my business, but they trusted me, helped them purchase a property in Virginia, sold the property in Maryland. And it was just like, but like I say, from the moment after I realized like, oh, okay, this is somebody legit. It's not somebody trying to sell me something. It was awesome. It's like they may as well have been family members, for goodness sake. I almost wanted to invite them over for Christmas because it was like, they were
Yeah.
here in a freaking hotel with 2 twin girls who were 2 years old and everything. So
Oh my gosh. But yeah, but that's the best part of it, right? Like you pick up the phone and like, "Hey, can you
yeah,
help us out?" Like, I sure can, you know? Yeah,
exactly,
it's
exactly.
great. It's a really it's just a really good way to connect with people, and, I'm all about providing value and
Yeah,
just and helping people, that's why I get into real estate to begin with, right? That's why
yeah,
we all do it. The us 20% agents, we're in it to help people,
right.
and, yeah, and if it shows through your videos, people will continue to watch, and they'll
Yeah.
reach out.
Well,
Yeah.
well, Jackie, first of all, I wanted to thank you for taking the time to do my live stream.
Oh,
And
thank
if you
you.
ever need a guest on yours,
Oh,
I would love the opportunity to do it.
I
I
got you on my
actually
list.
I get so freaking nervous about hosting it, but I love being a guest.
Okay. Well, you feel free. I would love to have you. I'll get you on my calendar for
And
sure.
if there's anybody out there who watches this on the replay who's interested in, I don't know, buying or selling in and around Bergen County or some of the areas you serve, what's the best way to find you or to reach out to you?
So you can go either to my YouTube channel. It's Jackie Baker, or sometimes you have to put in Jackie Baker Realtor. And there is a link there that you can click on that, and it will ask you a series of questions, and then answer that. I'll get notified, and then we will start the ball rolling if you would like to find a house here. So
Awesome.
there you go.
Awesome. Well, I do appreciate you joining me tonight. And like I
Thank
say, I
you.
will certainly return the favor if you would like. And
Yes.
yeah. And so anyways, well, with that being said, we'll go ahead and I'm going to kind of close everything up. But
Okay.
thanks again. And I got to check out the snow. We got snow piling up out here. So,
Oh, have
but
fun with that.
anyways, I also wanted just to thank everybody for watching tonight. And, as always, if you have questions when it comes to real estate, especially in the DMV area, whether you're thinking about either buying a home, selling a home, maybe somebody that's thinking about buying or selling a home, definitely hit me up. We've got the QR code right up there. So you can scan that QR code and that'll go straight to my Calendly. So we can set up a direct link to touch bases one-on-one so we can talk about your specific interest, your needs, any questions that you have by video conference. And you can also reach out to me by text message. That's usually a great way to get in touch with me. 240-793-7495. And thanks again for watching. If you're in the DMV, stay safe, stay warm, and probably best stay inside. So have a great night, everybody. Peace.